And welcome back to the week of what ifs, the week of who would wins. That was last week. What ifs? The week of who would wins, and this one comes to us from Gold King, who asked the question: Who would win a fight? Ultimate Doc Ock versus Aquaman. Now, I should preface it, Gold King, you didn't give me a specific Aquaman to do, so I have to basically just kind of give the overall Aquaman we generally get. Like, you didn't give me New 52 or just the Super Friends or Justice League or anything like that. So I have to, and if I say just like, I mean like the cartoon or the movie or something like that. So I have to basically go with that generalized version of Aquaman. But let's break this down. So, and this is actually going to be quick on Doc Ock's part. Doc Ock is a genius. And I believe his specialty was like nuclear physics or something like that. I can't remember exactly what his specialty was, but he is a genius. Obviously, his main bread and butter is going to come from his tentacles. His tentacles, generally speaking, can be made of any sort of metal that's available. He can lift somewhere in the neighborhood of, if he's using one tentacle to brace himself, around 24 tons. But his real interesting capabilities is the fact that he actually has pyrokinesis, or metal control. Not in the same way that Magneto has it, and we don't know if it's on the same level, but he can manipulate metal, and he does that basically to reform tentacles. You can just make an army of tentacles and reform them and attach them. He can also include weapons into the tentacles, like blades, lasers, things along those lines, because he's a scientist and a genius. He can, figure that out and, do that just like that. So as long as there's metal around, he'll have weaponry. But because of that, if you could get rid of his tentacles and there's no metal around, then he's kind of screwed. But because he can manipulate metal, no metal, I guess, is safe, including things like adamantium, vibranium. He could do some serious damage, hypothetically. Aquaman. Now, the generalized Aquaman is half Atlantean, half human, which allows him to survive on land a little better than your normal Atlantean because he has a hybrid physiology. Still needs to go back in the water eventually, and he'll recover faster, but he can still do that. Strength-wise, he's not the top tier in the DC. Like, he's not Superman or Wonder Woman, who would be considered top tier. He's more second tier, but that still allows him to lift, like, with an excess, like, 60, 70 tons. Something. He can lift well over 24,000 tons. So he's stronger than Doc's tentacles, but tentacles could prove tricky. Speed-wise, he's faster than the average person on land, but he's like he's a jet in the water. He's also extremely durable, having living in Atlantis in the ocean pressure. Basically increased his density and durability to the point where he's basically immune to small arms fire, high caliber weapons. He'd be hurt, but he wouldn't like be lethal. Trying to think what else. Obviously there's the fish, sea life communication. He can communicate with them for his aid. However, he could also communicate with land life due to his connection to the green. Or was it the green? No, the blue, isn't it? I believe Swamp Thing is the emissary of the green, which is basically like this primal energy, a life energy of all plants in the universe. Well, Aquaman has something similar to that, except he can basically tap into the primal ancestral DNA genes of the basically because every animal that lives on land today eventually was evolved from an animal that came from the ocean. So Aquaman can actually tap into that and use that to his advantage. He's also, for what it's worth, a trained combatant. He's a very skilled hand-to-hand fighter. On his own, he does not have water manipulation, to the best of my knowledge. However, when he has the Trident of Poseidon, he does have water manipulation. He can use water abilities, things along those lines. And if I'm not mistaken, the Trident of Poseidon also allowed him to cut through physical space. Now, for understanding how kind of messed up and powerful that ability is, understand this. We live in a third dimension. There are three dimensions, obviously, height, width, and length, and we live in the third dimension. There's time, which is the fourth. Supposedly gravity might be the fifth, and then God knows what else beyond that. That's well beyond our realm of thinking. But essentially like this. So, essentially, if Aquaman cuts through space, it essentially allows him to cut through anything. Because if you divide space, you're not actually cutting through the fit. Like, if he cuts an arm off, he's not cutting through an arm. He's literally cutting through the fabric of space itself, which means you cut that off, you might not actually bleed automatically. Hypothetically, if you're cutting like through a dimension, which is another form of like cutting through space, your arm is now like caught between two dimensions. You're not bleeding or anything like that. You're just caught through two dimensions. Cutting through space is similar, although it's basically you're not. It's not. It's going beyond ants. It's like not a cosmic. It's It's metaphysically cutting through things. So it's beyond your normal level of cutting power. It is pretty much an absolute cut. So unless you're going up against something that is made of like aether from a different dimension or something, it had to be something more metaphysical or energy based than so that couldn't be cut. Otherwise, it doesn't matter what you're made of. But the Trident is also made of metal, so that could prove a problem as well. So let's break this fight down. Let's say Doc Ock is wreaking havoc on Liberty Island, let's say, or let's say the Statue of Liberty Island, and he's wreaking havoc there, and it's right next to the ocean. Aquaman just happened to have been visiting one day. They're across it. Let's say their worlds meld. I was like, all right, that's enough there. Oh, what you going to do? I'm going to stop you. And then he just throws some water at Doc Ock. Doc Ock is out of it. Good luck trying. And then he's just firing lasers at his tentacles. Aquaman's blocking with the water and things along those lines. Is that the best you get? Comes in, smashes Doc Ock in the face. Doc Ock goes reeling, but he deals with Spider-Man on a regular basis, so he can at least take a hit to some degree. Tentacles come out, and now Aquaman's trying to basically fight them out, just ching, clang, clang. They grab his Triton. He's holding on. He's physically stronger than one tentacle. All tentacles might give him a little bit of tug of war, but generally speaking, he can avoid it. So all tentacles, it's pulling. He goes like, and then he just summons a bunch of birds to help him. He's like, get away from me, you birds! And then one tentacle goes. Then he swats the birds away. Grabs the tentacle, just does a spatial split and splits the tentacle basically, and it cuts two of the tentacles down. So it's like, my tentacle! What did you do? It's like, my Trident Poseidon, blah blah blah. It's like you're done now. It's like, oh, am I? And then the tentacles just come in, just kind of liquefy. It's like, boom, and then just and then he just summons the tentacles back and it's like, fine again. And then all of a sudden he feels his Trident just bends like, what are you doing? It's like adding you to my arsenal, and then he just merges the tentacles of. So basically, he's now got tentacles of Poseidon. How fitting, being an octopus. So now he's got these things. He even creates little mini tridents on there. It's like, and then he just summons the power of it. Like he starts manipulating wires, and Aquaman's like, nah. It's like, oh god, I have to stop him. It's just by the power of Poseidon, I will stop you. Water starts crashing down on him. Granted, it's not going to affect him seriously, as he's deals with that all the time. Still, the sudden force will throw him back a bit, and just comes in, just grabs Doc Ock, and then all of a sudden he finds that he's shink, and it's like, what? And then it's like, now the question is, would Doc Ock be able to use all the capabilities of the Trident of Poseidon? Having seen him do it and know that the Trident could do it, I think he could use them on on a level, particularly some level, because he is a genius. And he even doesn't fully manage to cut Aquaman's arm off, but he does. It's like half. Are you okay, puppy? I think she's scratching herself and just randomly hitting something. So it's like his arm's kind of like halfway cut off, so it's not fully cut off. It's kind of just dangling. It's pretty much useless. It's like, they haven't quite gotten used to these yet, fish boy. But or he'd be more intelligent. I haven't quite gotten used to this yet, my aquatic friend. But you know what? I'm sure, given time, I will be able to. And then Aquaman just boom, just it's like, no, you won't, and then just tears off the tentacles. With all his power, his arm's pretty much just gone. He's starting to bleed out a bit. But he just boom, 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 boom. He's like, Doc Ock summoned tentacles back. He's seeing that. However, he grabs the tentacle real quick. It's still got the Poseidon power, Trident Poseidon merged with it. So by all account, it's still a Trident Poseidon. He suddenly uses his own tentacle, the tentacle, as Doc is trying to bring it back, and just shing. It's like, It's like, what did you just? And then Aquaman just, oh God, by the gods. And then he kind of just walks off. Basically takes the tentacles away too, because like, my trident's in these. I'm taking these back with me. And then someone's like, oh, Aquaman, here, let me help. Basically slings his arm so it doesn't completely fall off. But then he gets the hook hand thing, so there you go. So why is Aquaman, do I think, win this fight? Well, Aquaman's definitely got a durability advantage over Doc Ock, because take the tentacles out for defense and offensive purposes, he's nothing more than he's nothing but human, and not even a very in shape human usually. Even though if you look at Spider-Man the animated series, he is. But Ultimate Doc Ock, no, from what I can tell you, he's not a guy who's in shape. So there's the durability is going to be a big factor. Also, Aquaman just has more combat experience. He's a natural born warrior. He's a king, so he's got more experience dealing in that than say someone like Doc Ock. Furthermore, even without his trident, he's still a formidable opponent, and he knows the capabilities of his trident. So if that got stolen from him and used against him, he wouldn't be out and about or out of the fight. Doc Ock hasn't used the trident before, so while I think he could use it on some minor level, he wouldn't be used to using its full power initially. So he also have that to factor in. Ultimately, what it comes down to is Aquaman wouldn't be against killing Doc Ock if he had to. And because the Trident of Poseidon is still, the tentacle is fused with Trident of Poseidon, it's still part of the Trident of Poseidon, so he could still use its ability, and unlike Doc Ock, he can use it to its full extent, so he could easily kill Doc Ock. Now, while I say he wins the majority, I think there's a real scenario here where Doc Ock actually wins. I think there's a very solid 30, maybe 35% chance, which, let's be clear, is actually a sizable number overall. I think 70 to 65% of the time Doc Ock still loses. But frankly, if he can control on at least some level the Trident of Poseidon in his tentacles, he could just rapid fire his tentacles and just carve him a turkey out of Aquaman. So I think there's a real scenario where Doc Ock can win that. But, Ultimate Doc Ock, mind you. But, ultimately, I do think Aquaman's going to take that fight. I think Aquaman's going to win. But what do you think? Do you think differently? Put it in the comments below. Let me know. Interested to hear what you think. Think it's a total stomp for Aquaman? Think it's a total stomp for Doc Ock? Think it's closer or farther than they make it? Put that in the comments below. But thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, wants to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. Idea for who would win. Star Wars, superhero magic, what if, anything you do on the channel, put that in the comments below as well. I'll get to that at some point. So, I keep doing that because Rogue Nation was the last one. Fallout is tonight. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully Mark's going to join. In fact, I got a text. Hold on, let me double check something here. I just got a text from someone. Nope, it's Carrie Ann. So, yeah, I'm going to be seeing Fallout, hopefully with Mark. Hopefully he'll be able to make it. But anyway. I'm seeing that later, but and who wins throughout the remainder of the week. I'm definitely not happy. My schedule got changed up in a way that I'm not liking, so I have to talk to some people at work about that. So some things may be a little off. Now, I will say this. The way it did get changed up, it does give me more ability to do videos. But it also limits my, for instance, it limits my ability to go out and go see a movie, like on matinee, which is when I would catch some of the stuff. Which, when I catch the, second thing, the thing I didn't catch the week prior on Thursday, Tuesday's when I normally do it because it's matinee. Now I don't have that ability as readily available. But we'll see what happens. It could be a temporary thing, regardless. Thanks for watching, though. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Have a good one.